Picture this. You've just pasted a massive 40-page report right into the chat window. And you simply ask it, what are the risks? The model spits out an answer. It sounds super confident. Honestly, it sounds perfectly right. But then you actually go and check it against the original document. And you realize some of the crucial information is just completely missing. Welcome to what we call the long document problem. Now, the really frustrating part about this is not just random glitching. There are actual predictable patterns to exactly when and why the AI goes wrong. And the good news is, once you know what those patterns are, you can avoid almost all of it. So you might be wondering, why on earth does a massive 200,000 token context window still give you terrible answers when you feed it a long document? Well, here's the thing that really catches people off guard. The model does read everything you give it, literally every single word. But it doesn't give everything equal weight. Researchers have actually studied this and found a really consistent pattern. Information located right at the start and right at the end of a long input, the model recalls that brilliantly. But the information buried deep down in the middle? Yeah, not so much. They literally call this the lost in the middle effect. Think about it like trying to memorize a huge shopping list. You're probably going to remember the first few items, right? Because they anchored the list in your brain. And you'll definitely remember the last item because it's the freshest in your memory. But all that stuff jammed in the middle, it just kind of blurs together. Well, language models exhibit the exact same behavior, just on a massive scale. So no, having 200,000 tokens does not mean you're getting 200,000 tokens of equal attention. It reads it all, sure, but it weighs it incredibly unevenly. But wait, there's another catch to this. Even if your crucial info is sitting right at the top or bottom, in the perfect position, the model can still decide to just wander completely off script. You see, really long documents give the model way too much room to just drift. For example, if you ask, does this contract cover flood damage? And the model happens to have been trained on thousands of other contracts, it might actually answer you based on its memory of those similar contracts rather than the actual document you just gave it. It sounds right, but it's totally fabricated. And guess what? The way you order your prompt can actually make this drift much better or much, much worse. Think about what most people naturally do. They type their question right at the top, something like summarize the risks in the document below, and then they paste the entire 40-page report underneath it. But Anthropic's own documentation clearly states that simply flipping that order around can improve your output quality by up to 30%. I mean, that's huge. Same exact question, same exact document, just a different order. Here's why it works. When your question comes at the very end, the model has already fully absorbed all the material before it locks in on what it needs to look for. When the question is at the top, it's struggling to hold that specific task in its working memory while it wades through 40 pages of dense text. So, document first, question last. I know it sounds way too simple to actually matter, but trust me, it matters. All right, so now the big question is, how do we keep the model totally honest once we've fed it all that text? We definitely don't want it hallucinating. Well, the absolute best trick I know for this is using what we call grounding quotes. Before you ever ask the AI for an analysis or a summary, you explicitly ask it to find and quote the relevant parts first. You'd use a prompt, something like this. Quote, every sentence in this document that touches on customer churn. Use exact text. Then, based only on those quotes, summarize the problem in 3 bullet points. What this does is force the model to literally surface the hard evidence before it's allowed to draw any conclusions. Plus, if it can't find a relevant quote to pull, that tells you right away that its answer would have just been a wild guess. You get to actually read the quotes and verify the summary against them. No more guessing if the AI pulled the answer from your document or just made it up from somewhere else. Oh, and one more thing here. If you're working with multiple documents at the same time, you've got to use XML tags to separate them out. We aren't doing this to be fancy. We do it because without that clear structure, the model just sees three distinct reports as one giant confusing blob of text. Tags give it hard boundaries. Models like Claude were actually specifically trained on this exact kind of markup. So they read those tags exactly the way you and I read road signs on the highway. So wrapping all this up, at the end of the day, successfully prompting with long documents is really a layout problem, much more than it is a wording problem. It really just comes down to three basic moves. Number one, document first, question last. Number two, force it to pull quotes before drawing conclusions. And number three, add structure, like those XML tags. Whenever you have more than one source, that's literally it. You don't need any super clever magical phrasing. I challenge you to try this specific layout on the very next long report you analyze. Test it out and see for yourself if the answers hold up against the original text. Honestly, once you see the difference in accuracy, will your workflow ever be the same?